Armed militias against Hispanic immigrants warns if Texas falls, the rest of the country will also fall. The armed militia group known as Patriots For America that operates in Texas, where they accuse that there is an invasion of undocumented immigrants and fear that the state will fall because of the migrants, and then the rest of the country would also fall. These are activists aligned with Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who gave them renewed hope with his recent speech against migrants. Welcome to Radio Labio's English program, where I share the most interesting notes of the day that you may not have had time to catch up on. I'm Juan Andres. I podcast in English and Spanish to ensure that all Latinos can have access to our programs regardless of the language they speak, and thank you for listening. Wearing bulletproof vests and carrying firearms, members of the Patriots For America civilian militia monitor part of the Texas border. Texas is where a lynched migrant with his feet removed from his body was found recently in the middle of the desert. And this was first announced by the highly right-wing Breitbart News network. And you ask yourself, why would a network like that doesn't have the organization of an ABC or an NBC or a CNN have access to that information? Well, probably because right-wing extremists found the body or had something to do with the body and gave them the information. That's my personal opinion. Patriots For America claim they're defending the United States from an invasion that is out of control due to the historical increase in the migratory flow of Hispanic migrants. Invasion. What invasion? I mean, we're 60 million. If you let 1 million migrants come in over a period of time, 2 million, 5 million, what is that? 5%, 6% of the Hispanic population and of the total population of the United States? Wow, insignificant amount. We're 330 million. If you let 6 million come in with asylum, that are seeking asylum, which is what's going on here, it's not even 1%. It's not even 0.5%. 0.5%, 1%, 33 million, 3 million. It's an insignificant amount. Anyway, they claim that if Texas falls, the rest of the country will also fall, said the president of this group. Look, in the last year, arrests of undocumented migrants along the border with Mexico, especially in Texas, have set new record numbers. Why? Because you can't even live with what they're earning in their country. And who's at fault for this? Well, the president that cut off all aid and communication with Central America. Who was that? Donald Trump. Donald Trump turned his back on Latin America. He basically said, and you heard him say it many times, America first, we're going to make decisions in our best interest, and that's the end of it. Forget it. Well, they weren't getting the backup they needed, and now things have gotten worse in that country 4 years, 5 years after Trump. And here's Biden trying to renew and reestablish everything to calm down this flow, and it's supposed to happen immediately. You know, I'm going to tell you something. I'm sort of the suspicious kind, and especially when I see a look, if it quacks like a duck and if it walks like a duck, it's a duck. This ex-president is a liar, right? He's willing to do anything that doesn't put him in jail, even if it puts everybody that he asks him to do things in his name in jail. He'll do it anyway. He doesn't care. My personal opinion. Now, when you take a person like that, you you start asking yourself, did he really stop helping Latin America because he wanted America to be first? When, for example, Mexico, our biggest trading partner, how do you, they buy more goods from us than any other country in the world, and we're turning our back on Mexico? Duh, right? You own a business and your number one client, the person that buys more goods from your business than anybody else, and you're going to turn around and tell them, hey, I'm going to worry about my business from now. You're my client, but you know what? Take a hike. I don't care whether you go bankrupt. Who gives a hoot what happens to you? What do you think that client's going to do? And do you think that's an intelligent thing to do? No! You don't tell your number one client, go take a hike, which is what this guy did. And all the little countries below Mexico, and Mexico is our number one client. So I ask myself, did he do this because that way, if things got bad, the next president would have it so miserable that he could turn around and use what he started, that he knew the next president couldn't clean up in 5 minutes, and they get everybody riled up to insist that it get cleaned up immediately or else, so he could turn around and win re-election in 2024? I'm asking myself, did he put all those countries at risk and almost jeopardize our relationship with our number one trading partner for his own personal gain? He didn't give a damn about what's best for the country. That America first, that's baloney. That's malarkey. That's poppycock. You don't turn around and tell your biggest trading partner to take a hike if that's what you think you want. You want America to be first. You protect your customers so they can keep you first. Why? We're an economy. It's based on trading, buying and selling. You don't tell your biggest client to take a hike because that client could hurt your possibilities of maintaining your position in the world. This is illogical. It doesn't make any sense. Anything that president had anything to do with, I'm suspicious of. Look, for this reason, the militias here claims that they're responding to the call for help from residents of border communities and ranchers tired of their homes being invaded, of losing their animals because migrants break through fences in their path, and their cars being stolen. My heart goes out to all these people that live along the border. Of course. I was born in Latin America. I was born in Central America. I understand what we face as a nation. We can't turn around and open our borders and take everybody that's coming to the border in, because it's going to topple our way of life. It's going to have an effect. I don't know how big that effect will be, and whether, that top 10% will never, they'll probably gain because they'll get people to serve them, maids or whatever, for next to nothing. But other than that, I could understand that there needs to be some guide rules. There needs to be controls. Absolutely. But who set this in motion? This is worse now than it's been forever. And who was the president that did this? Donald Trump. So now they're blaming Biden because their cars are being stolen and their fences are being broken down and their animals are being taken because these people have to eat. They kill the animal at night, the chicken or whatever, or the pig or whatever, and they have to eat. And they go build a bonfire in the middle of the desert and eat before they die. Who's at fault? It wasn't this bad before. It was always difficult, but not to this level. This was all started by Donald Trump. But now they're blaming Biden. All right. All right, he's in office. The buck stops there. He'll take the heat. But don't you be fooled for 1 minute. Don't you change your vote because you believe this man's lies and his followers who take every word that comes out of his mouth as gospel when all he does is lie to them. These communities feel ignored by the federal administration and are tired of the insecurity that exists in the region, that many are afraid to leave their homes, that the roads are deserted and the children can no longer play outside. My heart goes out to them. Thank you, Donald Trump. Thank you for screwing it up, making it miserable, and then blaming somebody else. That's your style. The militia currently patrols this militia that we're talking about. The militia controls and patrols the border with Mexico in Kinney County, which, along with 4 other border counties, declared a state of emergency last April due to the increase in migratory flow. Although the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, ordered the deployment of National Guard soldiers and agents from the Department of Public Safety to the border to arrest migrants and assist the Border Patrol, this help has not arrived at that particular area that these so-called patriots are patrolling. This 1,360 square mile county that shares a 16-mile border with Mexico is located between El Rio and Eagle Pass in the border counties of Valverde and Maverick, which have become preferred migrant crossings in the last few years. Therefore, most of the resources have been concentrated in these regions, leaving practically only Kinney, which has only 6 bailiffs to combat the problem that they've derived from the increase in migratory flow, right? 6 people running around trying to control thousands of migrants trying to improve their lifestyle. That Trump turned his back on 5 years ago and let these countries go to hell, and that's why their life was barely bearable then, and then after he did that, it was totally unbearable, and that's why we're in the situation we're in. So this group of patriots, they want to dissuade immigrants, said the militia president, who refused to reveal how many members of his militia are currently at the border, and assures that the group's presence is only there to try to dissuade the migrants, and that they're in no way seeking to start a fight or a confrontation with anybody. Now, come on. You're coming for 3,000 miles away on foot. Look, George, Sally, Alejandro, okay, Juan, you don't even walk around the block a mile and you're already panting and coming home. You know what it is to walk 3,000 miles to get to the border? And then all of a sudden this group comes in and we don't want to fight with you. We just want you to go back home. What? I just walked 3,000 miles, lost family on the way, got raped, got beaten, and you want me to go back to what I'm running from and get beaten again on the way back? And now I don't even have a penny, and I've been raped so many times it's not even funny, and I'm supposed to sit here, and because you come to me and say, excuse me, I don't want to fight with you, I just want you to go back home. I want to dissuade you from coming into the country. Give me a break. That is illogical. It isn't going to happen. It maintains armed volunteers that do not detain migrants, they say, and when they detect a group, they immediately call the Kinney County Sheriff's Office with 6 deputies, right? 6 deputies. The leader of Patriots For America holds President Biden directly responsible for what he calls an invasion that takes place daily on the border. See what I'm talking about? Trump did it. It festered and fell apart, and now it's a mess. And he tells his people that it's Biden's fault. And they gobble it up. Biden, what? Biden went into office a year ago, in January. In January. We're in November of this year. He's not even in office a year. How the hell could he have started this? This group says President Biden has never intended to fix the border. He's sacrificing the security of our communities to gain political power, said the president of the militia. See the ignoramus? These are ignorant. They're good Americans. Don't misunderstand me. And I don't mean ignorant as a derogatory form. Ignorant means you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Inform yourself. That's what it means. He's doing the best he can with the information he's been given. It's lousy information and it's lies, but that's what he has. So he has to base whatever he decides that he tells his group, because he's the leader. He has to tell them the lies. What's he going to tell them? So anyway, this guy considers the U.S.-Mexico border to be the most insecure and porous in the world. He acknowledges that there are families who cross the border, but among them, he fears that there are people with criminal records, members of the cartel, or even terrorists who may enter the country without being detected. Now, understand, we haven't arrested a single terrorist coming into the country on the southern border since 9/11. None. Zero. But they keep on talking about these possibilities. Well, there's a possibility that Martians are going to come and take over the earth tomorrow morning, but the likelihood of it is like zero. So what are we talking about here? And cartels? Do you honestly think that cartels that are rich in money, they own airplanes, they own submarines, they have tunnels with trains, electric trains and tunnels that travel underground across the border and show up and land in a big warehouse on the other side of the border? It doesn't make any noise. They're going to come marching with people that have been traveling for 3,000 miles and are dying of hunger, and they're going to sit there and look like them, all weather-beaten and no shoes. This is illogical. You understand what I'm explaining this to you so you can see how illogical this is. But they gobble it up. The ex-president tells his followers, and his followers run and tell their followers, and then he's got all these media outlets lying about everything he says, repeating everything he says, which is lies. The likelihood of a cartel getting involved in crossing the border with a whole bunch of migrants is minus 0.0000. Minus. Ain't going to happen. They don't need to. Why would they do that? At the end of the fiscal year of 2021, which ended on September 30th, the Department of Homeland Security reported 1.66 million arrests of undocumented migrants. It is a historical figure and surpasses the previous record of 1.64 million arrested in 2000. Well, that's what you want. It tells you it's working. But yet these guys say it's Biden's fault that it isn't working. And here the statistics are stating that we're now arresting more undocumented aliens than we did before. In the hundreds of thousands. Go figure. In Kinney County reports the arrest of 1,200 migrants in the past 3 months. They're arresting them, okay? The militia president knows that the activities of his group are being closely watched by many, including the federal government, which is, in his view, is waiting for a pretext to make them, the Patriots, an example. No, they just don't want you to kill people. And they're going to resist. You walk 3,000 miles and you're dying of hunger and thirst, and somebody walks up and says, with a rifle in his hand, because they're armed, okay? Understand that. They're armed. They're telling you that they're just asking people to go back the 3,000 miles, but they got a gun in their hand, loaded or not loaded. So you know damn well that isn't friendly. He's saying that they're walking up and dissuading people. You're scaring the hell out of them. They're going to turn around and they may cross the border. You may follow them and they'll cross the border. How long do you think that's going to last? I mean, crossing the border is 20 miles back or 30 miles back. They're not going to go 3,000 miles back to the horrible situation that they were in. So he says, they refuse to be racist. I want to make it very clear that we're not racist. We're not Nazis. Nor do we discriminate based on skin color. We are patriots who defend the Constitution of the United States, he said, who assured that if his men find someone in danger, they will not hesitate to provide aid and water to save that migrant's life. That may be true. Maybe he does that. But he shouldn't even be there. Okay, why? Because border security is a federal responsibility, not a state responsibility. Our borders with other countries is a federal responsibility. This guy isn't part of the state government. This group isn't part of the county government. This is an independent bunch of people going out with whatever rules that they create amongst themselves and decide that that's going to be the rule of the day with a rifle in your hand. And they're going around acting like if they're federal agents. He argued that the presence of the armed volunteers has already begun to attract the attention of the Mexican cartels and said he was convinced that they were watching them from the other side of the border. I'm going to go to sleep with this, okay? Cartels don't have to watch you on the other side. They're already on both sides. When they bring in with their underground, you ever heard of the Underground Railroad? Remember when you enslaved the blacks? And they had the Underground Railroad? They haven't, but these are real Underground Railroad. This is really underground electrical railroads and tunnels going into the United States, and those trains don't travel 60 feet when they cross them. They can travel 40 miles to a warehouse in the middle of downtown San Diego, and you don't even know. They're already here. And when they bring in the drugs, there's people in the building waiting, and they're distributing, and they're moving it, and they have salesmen in the street corners, and they're selling it. They're here already. You think they're paying attention to these guys crossing the border and these guys with guns representing themselves as giving the imagery of federal agents when they're a militia? They're insignificant. It's like a fly buzzing in your ear. You know, turn on the fan. Turn on the fan because the fly can't fly with a lot of air, and that'll get rid of the fly. Don't even kill it. Don't bother with it. Just turn on the damn fan. That's how much they think those cartels are going to think of these guys. They're giving themselves a level of importance that doesn't even exist. You know? They feel it, they're feeling their oats, and they think that they're very important, and they're not. On the other hand, he said, he supports a program implemented by Governor Abbott, oh my God, by which state charges of trespassing are presented to undocumented migrants who cross through the rancherias and are detained. They're invading, they're breaking the law, he emphasized. Agreed, they are. But we have a system of government, and the borders are supposed to be watched by the federal government, not militias. These members of the group claim to be prepared to face any increase in the migratory flow that may arise from the news of caravans of thousands of migrants currently crossing the Mexican territory to the border of the United States. In the last 3 weeks since the armed group began its surveillance, its leader affirms that the flow of migrants has not stopped. It's continual. The group does not believe the Biden administration's statements to the effect that the majority of people detained at the border are deported back to Mexico under the Emergency Health Order Title 42. No, but he does believe that when he walks them across the border and they get in the river and walk across, that's it. They walked across. They're never coming back. Biden doesn't know what he's doing with Title 42, but we in Texas know what we're doing. We saw them walk across the river, and they promised they'd never come back and cross again. And they're talking about an increase? Well, yeah. You just crossed 100 of them. 100 new came, and the 100 old ones that had just crossed are going to try again, so now it's 200. So then now you grab them and you, hey, cross the river. We don't want you here. Now you got 200 going back. All right? And now 150 new ones came. And now it's 350 trying to cross the river. Hey, wait a minute. You can't cross. Get in that river. Go back. Mexico. We got guns. We don't want to shoot. We don't want to hurt you. You need any water? All of you okay? Okay, cross the river, Mexico. Now it's 350. 200 new ones come. Now it's 550. They're increasing. They're not increasing. The system that you're using doesn't work. You are complicating it and making it worse. Sit down and do the math. If you went to high school, you know that 2 and 2 is 4. Do the math. The federal government returned to the dangerous catch and release policy, and now we're seeing the consequences. Now, the catch and release policy has nothing to do with the border. These are people that came and asked for asylum, were given asylum, and assigned to live with family members here until their court date. Now, they're calling that catch and release. If you don't like it, change the law. Lock down the border and say no more. No more asylum. Asylum now is forbidden in the United States, and then you can go off and do whatever you want. But as long as there is an asylum law, these people are coming lawfully. And when you don't let them cross, then they try to cross illegally. The military is currently in talks with representatives from other counties to expand its presence. This is the military militia along the Texas border. So now they're getting other groups to line up with them to make things even worse. The group claims to be operating thanks to donations requested through the Cash App platform. And for their part, pro-immigrant groups have expressed concern about the presence of armed civilians on the border as they fear possible violations of civil rights. Forget it. Of course there's going to be violations of civil rights. Of course. When they're here, they're entitled to due process. You're supposed to arrest them, take them into jail. They're supposed to be, and go through the process. You don't tell them to cross the border again. Get out of the country. Dissuade them from coming. Is that part of the law of the United States? Dissuade them from coming by armed citizens? Where's the law? I'm Juan Andres. You can find us on more than 60 sites on the internet where you can listen to our podcast. Just ask Google, Radio Labio, and we'll pop up, and you can pick one of the ones that pop up there and take a listen. On my behalf, as well as my colleague Yvonne Encinas and our manager and fellow on-air personality, Francisco Maldonado, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.